I'm George Wrighster. He's Ralph Amsden, and this is the College Football Apostles presented by the Unafraid Show. We got a lot to talk about today. The top 25 playoff predictions. Sherrone Moore is coaching without a contract. Miller Moss farts in a pillow, and that became national news. But why though? And the five best games of the week that you should not be missing. And of course, our picks against the spread. We got contests going and everything else. And Billy Napier, oh, he goes full LeBron James and tells everybody to go back to their miserable lives and get out of the basement and everything else. And Brian Kelly, uh, gets angry after the USC game. So we got a lot to talk about. We thank you guys for joining us here. You guys make sure that you guys go on Unafraid Show. We got so much content every single day. We got shorts, long forms, talking about the ACC, SEC, college football playoff, and breaking down everything in between. But we will start today, though, Ralph, with Sherrone Moore. So a message came out. Well, a report came out that Sherrone Moore is operating at Michigan without a formal contract. And this made me laugh. This made me laugh because I don't think people really understand and know how many coaches are operating and coaching without formal contracts right now.
Yeah, I don't fully understand. I would assume that the defending national champion would want to have their coach of the future under contract. Does that mean that either one of these parties can walk away?
No, that's not what that means. Is that there is something signed, most likely, right? Because what typically happens, well, number one, there
Well,
has to be
Michigan tweeted
somebody.
out that he was signed. They tweeted out a
Yeah,
picture, said pen to paper with,
yes,
and I know
and
I cover high school recruiting. I know the stuff that kids sign on signing day. They're e-signing, right? Like I
yeah,
know that all those signatures are fake, but that picture confuses me a little bit.
yeah, but the pen to paper was most likely like 99% of the time when those things happen, they are signing something. It's called an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. It is essentially the term sheet and the deal. And it's like pending nothing weird happening. So he knows how much money he's going to make, how much the university is committed to pay him, his assistants, and everything in between. So they're being paid right now. And this happens every time a new coach signs his new contract. Like Dan Lanning, his final contract didn't get approved for months after, and that's typical because they agree on all the terms, and then you got to get the lawyers involved, and that's where the lawyers are saying, okay, well, what if this happens on a Tuesday with a full moon, and all types of clauses, buyouts, everything else. So they work out the small minutia because the majority of things are already agreed upon. Let's go back to Arizona with Jed Fish. Because remember, everybody was like, oh, the deal's done and all that, they're just working out the details. And the same thing with Kalen DeBoer at Washington. They were like, oh, salty and all that. Oh, the details, the details. Well, no, they hadn't signed a memorandum of understanding. In Washington's case, Kalen DeBoer wouldn't sign it. And in Arizona's case, they wouldn't let Jed Fish sign it. So that's how it works. And part of the report, it said that there have been some things that have held it up. Yeah, Connor Stallions and the recruiting violations have held it up. Because remember, Michigan wanted to protect itself against Jim Harbaugh and the allegations and all sorts of things when they were trying to re-sign him. So they're doing the same thing with Sherrone Moore. That's what's holding this thing up. Because he was named head coach in what, end of January, beginning of
Right.
February, sometime around there.
Okay, so
So
that my question is, what if anything could Sherrone Moore lose? Could he lose? Is his buyout not set in stone, or
well
like
that
what's the difference
that's a
if
little
his
bit
contract's not?
but the thing is, if they can fire, like this is where the gray area is that this is why they try to get it done as quickly as possible, because maybe he could be fired for cause. And part of it is, so let's say Michigan comes out and loses 3 or 4 games this year. Oh, that cause might get real sketchy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it is arguable that a lot of coaches could be fired for cause. Herm Edwards certainly could have been fired for cause, but his former agent chose to pay him a $4.4 million buyout instead. You've seen other coaches get fired for cause, turn around and sue for the full
Yeah.
amount. Um, that's pretty common. Isn't that what's going on at Michigan State right now?
Yes, that's exactly what's going on at Michigan State. And it'll probably be, he won't get the full contract. They won't have to pay the whole thing, and he won't get nothing. It'll be somewhere in between. So, so that's the Sherrone Moore situation at Michigan. And the best thing that he can do to help himself is win football games. That
Mhm.
that is the best thing that he can do, because if he starts, because look at what happened at Michigan State. Had he been 12-0 last year, or the prior year, had they had another good season and gone to the playoff or won the Big Ten, do you think they would have fired him, or you think they would have just suspended him?
Right, right. He was
Come
what
on, man. It's
he was.
college football
He
here,
was
man.
5-7. They felt like they were trending in the wrong direction, and it very much seemed like they were looking for any reason to get rid of him, and he gave them one.
He
He
gave him one.
certainly gave them one.
He gave them a big old reason. All right. There was
Well,
another
we
piece.
don't know how big the reason was. I don't want to pretend like we I
It
don't
might not
pretend
have
like
been
we have
that
any
big of a
inside
reason,
information
or
here.
it could have been an enormous reason. You never know.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you know?
I have no idea, and I don't
Me
care to
neither.
know either.
Okay, just okay.
All right. Oh wow, Ralph. And if anybody knows, Ralph is kind of the, what is the, because squeamish implies like blood and
Oh,
stuff like that. So what is the
crude,
goody two
crude,
shoes version of blushing during sex jokes?
prude, or repressed, or Catholic. I don't know any of those.
All right. All right. The next thing up. So USC beat LSU and on Monday. And no, sorry, on Sunday. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, USC fans fist pumping. We did it. We're back. Everything is good. We're so happy. Yes. And I was like, slow down, people. Slow the hell down. Because you beat a name brand, and we don't really know yet how big of a victory that is, because LSU's defense was horrendous last year. It was almost as bad as USC's. And we know that when you make a tremendous jump on defense, even with what DeAnton Lynn did at UCLA, it still is not like a top 5 or top 10 defense. It just goes from being number 121 to like 30, 121 to like 28. So, I mean, and that's a ridiculous jump. And or 121 to like 40. That's insane when you have a lot of the same players. So, we have no idea how good LSU really is. And we don't, and but we know that USC is better than LSU at this point in time. That's what we know. So I want USC fans to enjoy the win and all of that. But there is one hilarious point about this entire win, though, Ralph. And you know what that is?
What is that?
Lincoln Riley tried to get this game canceled because the schedule was too hard. He tried to get the game canceled, and now he out here peacocking like, see, look, hey, we knew we were ready for this. This is what this team is built for. This is USC Trojan football. Bro, you didn't even want to play the game. You've been talking about canceling the Notre Dame series to make an easier schedule to make the playoff. So no, Lincoln, no. Just take this win and accept it, because you tried to get this game canceled.
Yeah, man, this is, you know what it reminds me of is like going to your spouse's work party, like after 6 days of complaining about having to go to your spouse's work party. And on the drive home, you look at your spouse and be like, that was fun.
And like, oh,
Like,
really? That was fun. I had
yeah,
to I had to poke your eyeballs out to get you here, but it was fun. Okay,
yeah.
all right,
Oh man, he's a character. Man. He really is.
yeah, all right. So next thing up, Miller Moss. There was a story that came out in Miller Moss on TMZ, right? It was on TMZ, and then it made actually more noise locally here in LA than it probably did nationally because the LA Times picked up a story about Miller Moss over 2.5 years ago. The resolution happened 2.5 years ago. He had a dispute with a roommate and he allegedly farted in his roommate's pillow.
And that made TMZ.
Yes. Yep. And that made TMZ.
Okay, so I have two questions. How does USC not have anything to trade to Harvey Levin to keep a very dumb story like that from going public? Like, how could USC let this happen? Because they trade information.
Yes. Yes.
They could have given TMZ anything. They could have given TMZ a sit down with Lincoln Riley.
This is a non-issue. I'm not trading anything for this. It actually makes Lincoln Riley. It actually makes Miller Moss look like a normal college kid who hasn't farted on a pillow. Well, me, but like who has not known somebody who's farted on a pillow? Who had? I mean, it's not like he put eye drops in somebody's drink and they ended up in the hospital. It's a pillow fart. Like relax. There was no
I
investigation needed. What are they gonna do? A DNA smell test to see? That's rotten egg there. That he doesn't eat eggs. That didn't come up out of that didn't come up out of Miller.
Man, there's like roommate disputes all the time. It would be a little confusing to me if USC was rooming athletes with non-athletes. Um, so it could have been like a teammate or something. The university having to get involved in this because this was like moving some of his shirts and that like they kind of
Oh,
bullying the
it was
kid on
probably a
video.
non-athlete then, because I just can't imagine. I guess that another athlete that he farted on his pillow, like another football player, right? How would that have normally been adjudicated in most amongst most football players?
Now you got to eat this pillow.
Yes, yes. You gotta eat these hands or you gotta eat this pillow. Or I'm gonna break some of your shit. It's just that like it's not gonna end up with like a you farted on my pillow. Nah, it's gonna probably end up with a
Toothbrush that tastes funny.
yep, exactly. Okay, cool. Oh, you farted on my pillow. All right, cool, no problem.
Okay, so here's my second question. Do you think that it's a coincidence that the publisher for the UCLA rival site, Edward Lewis, is a sports editor at TMZ now?
No, I don't. I do not. I think that they've been sitting on this story, and he was like, "Ha ha."
Sitting
We,
on that story like Miller Moss sitting on his roommate's pillow.
but at the end of the day, it's a non-story. Nobody cares. It made less news than. I skimmed through the story and I was like, oh, okay, who cares? Like I wouldn't care if he. I mean, if he, I would have cared probably more in terms of I would have read and dug more deeply had he used his roommate's pillow as tissue than a fart. Yeah.
It felt very much like oh wow, the things 19-year-olds do every day made the news. Like it
Okay.
felt
Okay.
very
If
strange.
Micah farted on Jet's pillow and came in and was like, "Dad, Dad, Micah farted on my pillow," how would you react to that?
I would say like you know how to do laundry. I wouldn't even
Yes, that's the point. This is how much of a non-story that this is. You'd be like, wait. You came in while I'm recording this to tell me this, man. If y'all
yeah.
don't get your ass up out of here, man, and figure it out yourself, just do
Yeah.
not. Nobody end up in the hospital.
Yeah,
Get away from
nobody don't escalate and don't bother your mom. That's that's it.
me. Exactly, because we're not trying to talk about this all damn night. All right, Billy Napier. Oh, he done got into it with his fans, Ralph. He done got into it with his fans. They got held underwater and drowned by Miami. And remember, we put together the coaches under the most pressure list on Unafraid Show.
Yes.
That pressure list is looking real big time because there's some inside stuff that I know that's going on in Colorado. So I'm gonna tell you right now. It depending on what happens after this game, I may be able to share the story. But Deion's feeling the pressure. Just know that Deion is feeling the pressure in Colorado. Do you think that Joey McGuire at Texas Tech is feeling the pressure? And mind you, Deion's not getting fired. Joey McGuire's not getting fired. I mean, they would have been extremely upset. He would have actually gotten on the hot seat had they lost to Abilene Christian. But he's just on the pressure list. Do you think that now Texas A&M Texas Tech fans are like, damn, George, you were right. There's a little bit of pressure there, especially now.
Hey, if they're not telling you you're right, at least they're not talking back at all. I noticed I noticed they all got on you when you put them on that list, but when you asked how they felt about it now, there was some crickets
Yeah,
out of Lubbock.
exactly. Exactly.
But their issue has always been their issue. They scored, they give up points. That's dangerous. And you want Joey McGuire's team to look different than Cliff Kingsbury's team. That's, of course, what you want. You want progress, and it still looks like more of the same. And to have one of your old quarterbacks do it to you
Mm.
in Maverick McIver, for Abilene Christian. Shout out to Keith Patterson, by the way. Got Abilene Christian looking good, but yeah, no, that type of stuff has to end eventually. It
Yep.
has to.
And can I talk about when I was recording that video of the games? How many times I had to say Maverick MacGyver. It took me, it was probably like the tongue twister. I might as well have been saying Sally shells, seashells by the seashore. It was the most tongue twister thing that I've come across in quite some time.
It always kills me that you can say Fuamatu Maafala like without even blinking. But it's like, but Miller Moss, you're like,
But Billy Napier, dude, he got into it with his fans. He said to the effect of, "Man, you guys shouldn't be paying attention to what a guy in his team, what a guy in his basement in Central Florida has to say." And I was like, "Oh, don't do that, Billy. Oh, don't be the guy that gets so mad at his fans that then he like that the same people that have to back you now you're like double burden them when they have a right to be upset." But the best part of this whole thing though was Matthew Berry's tweet and who retweeted it. Who was that that retweeted it?
Dan
Talking
Mullen?
about Florida's last coach. He went to 3 straight New Year's Six games, and then year 4 he got fired.
That would have been the Dan Mullen of ESPN.
Hey, he didn't give no F's. No F's. He was like, "Oh, that's a great tweet," because I bet you
Yeah.
Matthew Berry sent it to him because they worked together.
You know what the worst part about Dan Mullen like retweeting that was? Because I mean, there's been some petty, like RG3 out here holding a grudge against Paul Feinbaum, which cool, he deserves to. Um,
And
but
Paul
Dan
Feinbaum
Mullen,
actually stood up for RG3, which is the craziest thing when he got fired by ESPN. So, Ralph, is Billy Napier, like, because he's clearly feeling that pressure, is he right for saying this? Or is he, because his criticism is majorly high? Because I'm like, bro, you got to keep the little bit of people that are in your corner left. You have to keep them there. And he needed that Miami game to like to turn his hot seat to like a, okay, hey, he's actually got stuff moving in the right direction. But I do believe he pulled out he pulled out his possible get out of jail free card. Like, when people out in the world, when they get in big time trouble or they say something or do something, there's only a couple ways out. There is to cite mental health issues, like serious mental health issues, drug issues, right? Like drug or any type of addiction, right? So mental
Yeah.
health or addiction. Those are the ways that you can kind of get out of jail free and be like, yo, I've had a crack addiction for, I've been snorting coke, or I have a sex addiction, or I have mental health. Like those are your get out of jail free cards. Well, like you get to pull that out in life one time and come back from it. His get out of jail free card might be DJ Lagway. If he
You
can get,
said this was going to happen.
I
You
told
said
you
it
it
was
was
going
going
to
to
happen.
happen. I
Yep.
told you. And now DJ Lagway is starting. Granted, Graham Mertz is in the concussion protocol, but we saw this happen last year with over at Arizona
Yeah.
with Noah
Noah
Fafita.
Fafita and Jaden DeLora. Yeah.
Yep.
We
And
had some
all of a sudden,
Dante Moore
we
action at
we we we,
UCLA as
we
well.
want to make sure that Jaden DeLore is 100% healthy. Not 95, not good enough to play, not 98, but 100% healthy. And Noah
Telling
just
the
kept
trainer,
balling.
telling the trainer to squeeze his ankle real hard to ask him if he feels any pressure.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. So, how
But
much
you asked me a
pressure is
question. You asked me a question. Was Billy Napier right for calling out the fans complaining about Florida online? And he was telling his players not to pay attention to them, which is smart
yeah.
because some people out there pay too much attention. Shout out to Big Dave.
Oh man, I
Threatening to,
get Big Dave though. I get
yeah,
big, and
yeah, you're a
we'll talk
quarterback
about that.
dad.
We'll
Yeah,
talk about that.
we'll get into that. But no, I would say this. Telling your players that you don't need to listen to people tweeting from their basements made sense 10, 15 years ago. But in this economy, people who can afford basements, those are your potential NIL donors. So you kind of do need to listen to the people who have multi-story homes in 2024. He's frustrated.
So
Getting
he should have
coaches to
said
talk.
mom's basement if that's
Yeah,
what
he
he
should have
meant.
said
Yeah.
mom's basement, but getting coaches to talk right after a loss, I never take anything they say seriously. I
Yeah.
didn't take well, we're going to talk about it later in the show. I didn't take that seriously either. But getting coaches to talk right after a loss is always a recipe for absolute disaster. I don't think people are looking for reasons to be mad at Billy Napier right now. The result is plenty of reason enough. They were down 38-10 at one point. Cam Ward was making them look like kindergartners, and then insulting the SEC right after the game, saying Pac-12 crowds were, harder to deal with than the people in Gainesville.
Yes. All right. So now on to that thing that you just mentioned. And and that's Brian Kelly. So Brian Kelly got upset after the USC game and was like, "We keep dealing with the same thing." And when I first saw the clip, I was like, "Oh, this is fake outrage." But then when I went back and watched the whole thing, I was like, "Oh, okay, he's genuinely upset." So there were two parts to it. Number one, I actually appreciated that Brian Kelly didn't just blame his players. That he was like, this is my fault. This is my fault. Okay, so I can deal with a coach taking responsibility and blame for when his coach does not perform at the level that he should, right? And it is important that we see that part of it. The other part of it is like it felt like he was like, we're just keep dealing with the same thing and they're not listening and if it like it felt like a mea culpa, like, well, I'll just take the blame for it, as opposed to him act because he said it, but was it genuine though?
That's the way I talk to my kids. Because I'll be like, hey, wear shoes when you go outside. Because they'll step on a nail to go through their foot and our insurance premiums go up or something like that. So every single day, I'm like, wear shoes when you go outside. Wear shoes when you go outside. By the end of the week, I'm like, take your foot take the thing designed for your foot, put your foot inside it, lace it up, and because I must not be saying it right. It must be my fault. It must be something with my mouth shape, a problem with my words. It's got to be me because
Yeah.
I've told you 6 days in a row to put shoes on before you go outside. So it must be on me. Like that is mental illness on my part, and probably. And I think Brian Kelly's an awesome coach. I think that his teams always look better at the end of the season than they do in the beginning. But this is LSU. You don't get you're not afforded the luxury of actually like coaching a team from being one thing to another team. You just got to be good. And when you're dealing with this amount of money, people expect your quarterbacks to be good right away. People expect your coaches to be good right away. So I understand the pressure that he's under. Um, but yeah, no, I recognize that type of talk from Brian Kelly. Like, no, it's definitely my fault because if you're not getting it, and that's actually true. Like as a teacher, or as an educator, or as a coach, you have to find a way to get through to your players. So does he mean it? I don't know. Is it true? Yeah, yeah. It ultimately comes down to him.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Next thing up about being overprotective. So DJ Uiagalelei's dad, Big Dave. I wasn't sure whether that was the old clip that just circulated again or was this a new one because I think it was the
There's
old
quite a
clip.
few. Well, he's on every California high school spaces. He's
Yeah,
on. He
he's
gets on
big.
these
I
post
mean,
game
he's
things.
got two kids, one at Oregon, and then his son has obviously had a very, he's been at Clemson, he's been at Oregon State, now he's at Florida State. So, and he went to St. John Bosco. Like they're a big deal around here. So they were on spaces. Somebody was criticizing his son, and he didn't jump bad initially. It was when somebody called his son sorry, essentially, and was like, he needs to move to tight end. We didn't want his sorry ass and all of that. And he went full like gangbang on him. He was like, "Hey, yo, homie, you wouldn't say that to my face." Like, dude, it went pretty. Eh. That's how street stuff gets started. And
I'm about to ask you the most ignorant question of all
okay,
time.
what?
But I grew up on the West Coast, so I'm used to it. But people are experiencing Big Dave for the first time out here in the Southeast where I live now. On the West Coast, it feels like Samoans get a pass for using certain words
Oh yes,
that
yes, yes,
I don't
yes.
think you get in the South or
Correct.
anywhere really.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. The Usos, it's a little different. And
Well, because who's going to stop Big Dave?
this is a fair point. This is a fair point. Um, and here and Big Dave and his security company and the people that he works with bodyguarded for Snoop and all the big West Coast rappers for a very long time. The question is did he go too far? Because or did the people go too far? Because I do think that in what is going on with DJ over at Florida State and what happened at Clemson is did DJ has DJ been playing well this season? The answer is no. Is his team helping him out when he is playing well? No. His team is not stopping the run. They're getting pushed around. When he hits people in the numbers, they drop the ball. When they're wide open, he misses them. Like it's a disaster, right? And it's not all his fault. But the expectations with being a 5 star stick with you. Just like if you're a 5 star, you're going to get more opportunities than a 3 star is going to get. Like if like Malachi Nelson can transfer from Boise State after this season, and there's going to be a bunch of people who want him. It's just that like there's going to be teams that want him. They might, and there are going to be FBS teams that want him. There's
Oh
for
yeah,
sure going to
man.
be FCS teams that want him. So he
What
will be
marriage?
playing Division 1 college football somewhere next year, regardless of whether he's starting or not, somewhere else besides Boise State if he chose to leave
Right.
on
What marriage
scholarship.
is Kim Kardashian on? What marriage is she on?
She just finished with number 3, I think, or
Yeah,
4.
this big "I can fix her" energy exists in college football,
Oh, there
and
are
you
plenty of people that will sign up for the Kim Kardashian experience.
but that's just it. Like the whole thing about being a college coach is you believe that you can develop better than somebody else. You
Yep.
believe that you can coach somebody else better than somebody else. Like you have to believe those things. There's that meme that goes around. It's like a record player, and the sign on it says "broken but could be fun to fix." That's
Yeah.
how people look at a lot of these four and 5 stars that go somewhere and don't play right away. I root for a team that collected like 50 new players last year in Arizona State. Like they're on that list of like, hey, we'll take your Texas 4-star D lineman. We got 3 of them right now.
Yep.
Like we'll give it our best shot because I think I can coach them up. I think I can communicate with them better. And so yeah, definitely there will always be those opportunities for people who had a lot of hype coming out of high school. But what comes along with that is people calling you a failure 10 months into your journey,
Yep.
or people calling you a failure because your D line can't get any penetration, but you're a quarterback.
Yep.
So I don't think things have been fair for DJ, but if Big Dave's mad now, he's going to stay mad because they are memeing that kid to death right now on the internet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And okay, so here's the thing I've learned about being a number one, a professional athlete. Now, granted, it was before social media. Well, or at least social media being big, right? So that's number one. I've learned something from that. I've learned of being the high school, the quarterback, the dad of a quarterback at a big time high school. I have learned seeing other people's families, all sorts of stuff. Is that you have to know when it's time to turn it off, right? Because Big Dave doesn't want to be seen as a guy who's running away from it, right? Because he's in these streets, like in terms of in the high school football streets. Like he's big time in the community. He has other kids that are coming up that, that not are only his own kids, but he's got nephews playing in college, stuff like that. So he doesn't want to be seeming like a person like, oh, things didn't go well, so I'm not gonna show up to the spaces that I'm always on and all that stuff. But sometimes you got to know when it's time to check out for a minute. And it doesn't mean that you're running away from it. You just know that this ain't finna be positive right now. And
Yeah,
nothing that you're going to say is going to, and if people know that this bothers you, if they can hide behind their burner account or this or that, they will do it. So you have to know, so you either have to be prepared and be okay with whatever is said on up to a certain point, and you can correct people, but once people know that they can press your buttons, they're gonna press your buttons.
yeah. I have 2 things on that. Some people believe wholeheartedly that the only impact they can make on this earth is a negative one, but they don't want to be thought of as somebody who doesn't make an impact, right? So
Mm,
they will troll, and you're gonna be the victim of that trolling. The other thing, and this is directly to Big Dave. When you say out loud, "You wouldn't say that to my face," you got to believe that yourself because it is true.
yeah.
It is absolutely true. People are very, very different in person than they are online. So you don't have to say it as like a challenge to that person's manhood because there's no risk for them to come back and say, "Yeah, I would." In that moment, you just got to know they would never say this to your face. You are talking to pond scum. You are talking to people who have not accomplished, will not accomplish anything. They're on a burner on Twitter talking about college football because they don't have any better options for what to do with their time. And hey, we love people on burners talking college football. You can come troll us, but when it's questioning when somebody
Yeah.
is on there talking about your son, that's got to be really really tough for a father to deal
Yeah.
with. But you got to believe that they wouldn't say it to you. You like
Oh
it
my
is
God.
true.
Yes, yes, because I know that like the things that I can hear and accept versus what Damon's mom and my wife can accept are two different things. The one of them things is not like the other. And listen, you just got to understand what's true and not true. All right, we got a lot of big time games up this week, and Unafraid shows week 2 poll is out, top 25. And here it is, Ralph. We got the top 25 graphic. And guess what else we got? We have the playoff graphic as well, the updated playoff graphic. So we have updated playoff graphic and we have the top 25. So, and remember, the top 25 is ranked upon the 3 most important criteria: uh, quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. Those are the three things. So, Ralph, when you see this list, what do you say?
Like conduct penalty.
I thought it was the dancing.
Yeah,
It's this. And
that's a good.
Oh,
Well, I say nothing because I can't see it on my end. So you're gonna have to.
okay. There
the
you
way
go.
the way our recording is set up, I don't have the ability to see it. So you're gonna have to tell me who you have where and what you want me to react to.
Okay, so moved Oregon from number 2 to 10. Notre Dame goes to 2. Penn State goes to 3. Miami goes to 4, and USC goes to 5.
Okay, I actually have it pulled up on the Unafraid Show community tab. Make sure you're subscribed to unafraidshow.com for daily content. I'm looking at this. First of all, I love your criteria. It is different. And I see Georgia Tech up there at 20. I see Michigan at 16. I think that's something that would give a lot of people pause. This is the defending champion, and people root for the laundry. They root for the brand, but you're
They
talking about
got
the
a
stuff
whole new
actually
coach.
happening.
They're starting to walk on that quarterback. they, they had like 12 draft picks. This is not the same team as last year.
I heard Tom Fornelli make a point, and I want to get your reaction to it, that everybody's talking about how Michigan is going to struggle because they have a new quarterback, but everybody criticized Michigan last year because they didn't make use of their quarterback. Does it matter who their quarterback is at this point?
Yes, because the difference is that last year they were able to just lean on everybody. And granted, this defense still looks really, really good. They were able to lean on everybody. And I think that after last week, I was like, oh wow, JJ McCarthy might have been better than I thought he was. Even though they did let him throw at times. It feels like more now that they were holding JJ McCarthy back than them protecting JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, and I mean I got to go with I think what might be interesting to some people is looking at Oregon at 10 after a 10-point win over not great competition, and then looking at Utah at 11 after like beating the hell out of not great competition.
Okay.
And
So
so
and remember, so is that's a fair question, because I gave you the 3 most important criteria: quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. Now the preseason rankings, which I do not take into account or try not to take into account when we are putting it into our model for the uh, is that the preseason rankings is about recruiting, returning roster, and coaching. And then we throw that away and then we see what we got. And other rankings like the AP poll and other people's polls, they project out. They're like, this is a good team. We know it's a good team. Yes, they haven't beaten anybody yet,
mhm.
but so that's why Ohio State fell to 6. Their dominance was high, but all the other teams in front of them played a better schedule. And once Ohio State puts a good win down, they'll probably move up. And
If we're being honest about Oregon too, like there's a team last week that won by a million. I watched their game and I thought they looked like garbage.
which
That
team
was
was that?
Mississippi State.
Yeah.
There's another team, Oregon, that went 41 of 49,
Yeah, that was the thing
380
that
yards, no
that's the
turnovers,
point.
7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks.
And
But the
that's what I'm
scoreboard
saying, is
didn't look
that the
like it.
dominance is that Oregon's box score didn't match. It
No.
was efficient yards. They ran the ball okay, even though it wasn't great. They ran the ball okay, and their defense stopped the run. They were really good against the pass, aside from trick play. So like their dominance was still there, even though the score didn't necessarily reflect it. Like at no point in time were you, aside from looking at the score, were you like, Oh, they could lose. Like you never felt that watching the game that Idaho had a chance to win.
Can I ask you? I think Bruce Feldman said it was almost the biggest upset in college football history. How do you feel about that? Like, would it have been the biggest upset in college football history?
In my mind, sure, right? Because
Okay.
it would have mattered to me more. But I think that shows how much that feels like a badge of honor.
Hmm.
If you can be part of one of the biggest upsets in college football history of almost, that means that how highly people think about you and your program. Because if Appalachian State had beaten Georgia right now or Alabama instead of Michigan when Michigan was down some, then like yeah, it just means that if people are attaching that sort of moniker to a win or a near win, then that means that your program is thought about in the way you want it to be thought about.
True. Very true.
All right, so we got to get on to the 5 games this week that must be talked about, that are must see TV. You cannot miss. And the first one is, and you guys, there's a video on this on Unafraid Show. Make sure you guys go check it out. There is the picks against the spread are on Unafraid Show. You don't want to miss those as well. But Texas, Michigan, Ralph.
Hmm.
Texas, Michigan -7.5. It's in the big house. This number grew from 6.5, I think, to 7.5. How are you feeling about this?
All I can think about is Quinn Ewers going into Tuscaloosa last year and not even breaking a sweat. That's all I can think about is like everybody thinks that the big house is going to be the thing that because really when it comes down to it, the Texas quarterback room is, this game is going to create stars, but you want stars to come in, you want people to be able to hype, and the truth is the only thing you can really hype right now is that Texas quarterback room. And so I look at the way Quinn Ewers played at Alabama. I look at the way that he played in last year's Big 12 championship. I think he's a gamer. I really do. I like Texas. I like Texas to cover. Um, I don't I don't know much about this Michigan team. We're going to learn. We're certainly going to learn. But I really wonder if they have the ability to slow down this Texas offense.
Mm. And that's see, I do believe that they can slow down Texas's offense compared to what Colorado State was able to do, where they were less than a speed bump, right? Because Michigan's defense is going to be significantly tougher. So are they going to slow them down? Yeah, right. My biggest question is, can Michigan score enough points to win?
Yeah,
I mean,
who do they depend
even
on?
if they
Donovan
slow
Edwards?
Texas down to a halt, what is it? How many points is a halt? Like 24?
Right. I mean, Donovan Edwards
Can
looked good
Michigan
against.
score 24 points is the question, or 25 points is the question.
It's a great question, and I Donovan Edwards looked good against Washington last year, and he looked good as a sophomore, but he's going to have to be a star. And I don't know if he is that.
Mm.
We'll find out. We will
Yeah,
find
but
out though.
here's the thing about running backs is that now, granted, if you watch the film and you find out he missed holes and stuff like that or cuts, then or didn't break tackles, that's a whole different story. But running backs, you can put Barry Sanders back there with no blocking. It doesn't matter. That's why running back is so devalued. Is that they're more dependent on another position than anybody else. Because a quarterback, a free runner can come and he can juke the one
Mm.
free runner and then still throw a dime. And yes, quarterbacks are subjected to the offensive line blocking and all of that stuff, but no more position than running back. Because if you get hit when the ball is handed off, or you can't even make a juke or anything, like there's nothing you can do. So I'm withholding the Donovan Edwards criticism until I see him be bad. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, so before we get to making this pick, what was our record for last week?
I went 4-1. We were opposite on 4 picks. You went 2-3.
How?
The two that you went with Florida and you went with West Virginia against Penn State.
Okay. So how did I go 2-3? If you went 4-1, if we had 4 opposite picks.
Let's see here. So the games were I already tallied this up, and now now you're gonna make me do an audit while we're live.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I am we are auditing this live.
okay, so you had Florida, I had Miami.
Yep. You won.
Okay. Gosh, what were the other games we picked? You had, I'm gonna have to pull. I'm back on Unafraid. Subscribe to unafraidshow.com. I'm back up reading the description on that video right now. It's gonna take me a minute to pull it up. I was not prepared for. I did 10 minutes of preparation
Okay, okay.
beforehand. I don't have
I
it
got
pulled
them.
up.
I got them. So we
Yeah,
had Clemson, Georgia.
which you got right. I did not.
Yep. Penn State, West Virginia.
I got that one. You did not.
Miami, Florida.
That was good for me, bad for you.
Notre Dame, Texas A&M.
We were both on Notre Dame.
And LSU, USC.
You took LSU.
Yep. And you took USC.
I did, yes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I passed the audit. Take
Yes.
that, IRS.
Yep. All right. So I am taking Texas -7.5 in the big house. Run them boys out the big house. And so much so that they're gonna try to fight Texas in that single tunnel.
I will join you on that. Texas -7.5.
All right. Next game up. This is one of the lowest, if not the lowest, over under of the entire week, and that is Iowa State. Iowa's favored by 3.5. I think the over under is 33.5. Which, if we were betting unders, I wouldn't be nailing them unders, boy. So everything in me feels like I should take Iowa here, right?
Okay.
But it's that hook that's bothering me because Iowa wins by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. And this is a rivalry game. And I know that Iowa State wants to get a victory at some point in time.
Yeah, Matt Campbell 1-6 in the Cyhawk game.
But we still don't know about Iowa's passing offense yet because Cade McNamara looked okay last game. What did he throw for, like 240 or somewhere around there? Iowa's going to play better. Iowa State's going to play better defense. Give me Iowa State plus 3.5.
Okay. I'm going to join you, and here's why. Not a good idea now that I'm thinking about it, but that has nothing to do with you. But I am a person who will walk up to a roulette table in Vegas, and if I see black has hit 6 straight times, I'll start betting red.
Oh, God,
Because
that's not how it works.
I know, but it has to turn at some point, right? It has to. And
Yeah,
so
but
I'm
that
going to
might not
bet
be for
red.
20 more years.
I know, but that's just who I am. I got to be true to myself. I'm going to bet on red. I'm going to bet on Matt Campbell. You pointed something out in your video on Unafraid Show that there is a really weird scenario where both these teams could make the college football playoff. It is very possible. Iowa's schedule is, I think if they lose to Iowa State, they kind of lose their chance.
Yeah.
But Iowa State, if they lose this game, they could win out and they could make it.
Yep, and win the Big 12. You are 100% right.
Exactly.
Because this is not a Big 12 conference game.
This is the first time since Brock Purdy left that I've looked at Iowa State's offense and thought to myself, it's being run the way that Matt Campbell wants it to be run. So I'm gonna, even though Iowa's defense, oh my God, those boys can play. I'm going with Iowa State. And the under 10-7 Iowa State.
Oh my God. All right. Cal Auburn. Cal is Auburn's favored by 13 and a half points. This game is at Auburn. Cal travels well. They may or may not be without
Not their
Jaden.
fans, their players. Not
Yes.
their fans.
They may or may not be without their star running back, Jaden Ott. I feel like that if I knew the answer to that question, if Jaden Ott was going to play or not, that would change my pick because he's the most dynamic player on that team. And if they can't run the football, they got no chance to win. No chance to win. And Auburn's quarterback situation, they are what's his last name? Pine? No.
Peyton
Pine.
Thorne?
Yes. Peyton Thorne. I mixed him up with Drew Pine for some reason. So Peyton Thorne, all Auburn's hopes and dreams this year are on Peyton Thorne's shoulders. And this is a game they have to win. And last year this was a much closer game than people would have thought. And I am going to take the 13 and a half points and Cal.
Okay. Shout out to Sam Jackson IV. He's been making news this week. He was the starting quarterback in the game against Auburn last year for Cal. Now he's a wide receiver at Auburn. He caught a touchdown this last week. He wants this win real bad. Historically, I don't think it's going to happen. Cal schedules like crazy out of conference. Cal schedules the way you wish SEC teams would schedule out of conference. And Justin Wilcox is 5-3 in these games, and the last 3 have all been losses, but they've all been by less than 1 score, including last year to Auburn. In fact, combined, they're less than the spread. It's 13 points. This spread's 13 and a half. I don't know if Cal wins this game, but the idea of Cal losing by more than 2 touchdowns, Wilcox really prepares this team well for out of conference games. It would be going against everything in Justin Wilcox's history for Auburn to get this blowout. So I'm with you. This is the same Justin Wilcox that's beat Ole Miss twice. This is the same Justin Wilcox that beat BYU on the road. Same Justin Wilcox that beat North Carolina twice. He's great in out of conference. I'm rolling with Cal.
Yep, I totally agree. Next game up, NC State, Tennessee. This game is in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium. I think this is a 10-point game, Ralph. That the line is 10 points.
But we made our picks when it was at 7.5 for Tennessee. So we'll ride with that one because you already got your picks in. Video's already out, so we'll take the 7.5.
Oh, this is easy work. 7.5, and for Tennessee, and I'm gonna take the Vols. I love Nico Iamaleava. I think that I put him on the Heisman list here on Unafraid Show, so go check out that video. As my dark horse candidate, and people were like, why'd you put him on there? And after 1 week, they were like, I see why you put him on there.
Yeah, I'm going to join you. My biggest issue with NC State is they went out and got a quarterback who likes to move around. And yeah, he was a
Grayson
4-year
McCall
starter at
from
Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
And he ran who's Liberty's coach's name? He ran his offense and almost perfected it. It was fantastic. Having been a walk-on, he's had one of the most awesome college careers you can imagine. And you figure like, oh, NC State, they went and got this quarterback. That means they're going to start throwing. Wrong. NC State has always thrown, and they've always thrown too much. Always. They averaged like 36, 37 a game over Dave Doran's tenure, which is a surprise to a lot of people. So now you have Grayson McCall chilling, throwing 10, 12 more times a game than he ever has before against this Tennessee pass rush. I don't love it. I think Tennessee travels well. That's a short trip from Knoxville to Charlotte, just over the Appalachians. Give me Tennessee.
Yep. Now, how about if you're just betting it now and it's 10? Do you still love it at 10?
No. I think 10 is probably about where I see like 30 to 20. So that 7.5, that's a nice, I think that's exactly where you want it.
I'll take it at 10 too. Take it at 10 too. But for the purposes of this bet, it's 7.5. All right. We got Nebraska, Colorado. Nebraska's favored by 7 points. This feels like an overreaction line to last week, Ralph. Hey, and you are eating crow on well, actually, are you eating crow yet on
No,
Dylan Raiola?
no,
Because his
no.
numbers looked exactly like they did in high school.
Yeah, he had that one rush for -6 yards, and then he threw a couple of bombs. No, he's got a soft schedule. I think he's set up for success. Um, I do not think this game is going to go well for Nebraska.
Ooh.
However,
Oh, I thought you were on the Nebraska train.
no way, man.
It is something burning, and it's got nothing to do with Dion. And everybody knows that if anybody watches Unafraid Show, they know that I'm critical of some things that Dion's doing. This Nebraska feels like fool's gold right now. This feels like a sucker bet to me. Sucker bet. Give me Colorado +7 because I don't think that Nebraska, even if Nebraska is takes a lead or something, this doesn't feel like a team that's good enough on defense to just keep Colorado from scoring. And I don't think that they're experienced enough on offense with Dylan Raiola that they're going to be able to just put the game on his shoulders and he make no mistakes.
What did North Dakota State do to Colorado last week? What did Cam Miller do? He ran all over them.
Correct.
He ran all over them. Dylan Raiola going to run all over Colorado?
No.
So you're talking about a freshman quarterback in his second start having to win the game with his arm. That's an unfair expectation of anybody,
Yes.
including DJ Lagway, who's about to start for Florida. So
yeah, but at least he's got a layup of a game, though.
Right. I'll take Colorado. I'll take Colorado money line.
Ooh. Hey, Dion, I told you, remember, we talked about this in the offseason. This is one of the most anticipated games for me of the year because this is two teams. This game is going to send you in two different directions. This is either going to propel Colorado to a bowl game. This is going to be the game that determines whether they make a bowl game or not. This one right here. That's it. They lose this game, they're not going to a bowl game. They win this game, bowl games happen.
Maybe they were 3-0 last year before going 1-8 the rest of the way. So maybe because they might be a little thin. But
But they do appear to be a little bit better against the run.
Yes.
Not the quarterback run, but that's not going to matter with Dylan Raiola. But they do appear better against the run. So if they can stop Nebraska from just running all over them, they got a shot.
And road energy doesn't seem to bother. Now, do I think a Colorado player maybe does something stupid in Lincoln? If I had $1 million, I would borrow another $1 million to put it all on that happen. Absolutely. But I don't think it's going to affect their play on the field.
Okay, over under a number of 15-yard penalties on Colorado.
1,000 15-yard penalties.
Okay,
and it's all going to happen.
All right, I'm going to set the over at 1.5 15-yard penalties for Colorado.
And I will say there will be 5 of them.
Damn.
Shiloh's going to get 2 by himself. This is going to be a physical game. It's just going to be, I don't know. I cannot wait. It's going to be so fun.
Yep, me either. All right, and the games that we told you guys to stay away from, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, because Georgia Tech's highly volatile. We don't know who Syracuse really is yet. So that's a game we would stay far away from. Don't think that you know Georgia Tech quite yet, because this may bite you in the buns, buddy. Bite you in the buns.
Yeah, Georgia Tech has not had to play a quarterback that can throw, but they do average 6 yards a carry, and Syracuse gave up 6.5 yards a carry last week. So you could see Georgia Tech just go back to the Georgia Tech of old and run away with it, or Kyle McCord could show that Ohio State made a mistake.
Yep. All right, there were a couple other games that we're not going to cover as much, but I'm going to read them off to you. If there's anything that you want to comment about it, let me know. Baylor, Utah, in Rice Eccles Stadium. Cam Rising is there. Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, Utah won this game at Baylor last year with none of their weapons, and Utah is really looking forward to paying back the favor of that rude welcome they got in Waco for being upset about possibly having to go to the Big 12. So I expect Utah fans to be on their. I expect them to act like Utah fans, and I
Yep.
expect that to be one of the most hostile environments
Yep.
in all of college football.
There's another game, Ralph, that I feel like a coach is going on the ejecto seat if he loses this game, and that is Sam Pittman in Arkansas +8 against Oklahoma State. If Sam Pittman does not win this game, he is on he's on Mount St. Helens of a seat.
Will they promote Petrino to replace him?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, they might actually do that. Yes. Yes. If they get their doors knocked off this game, Sam Pittman might be gone and Petrino might be back there in a neck brace soon.
I don't want to hear anybody talk about character ever again if that happens. That would be the most unserious
We are a
thing.
second chance society, Ralph.
I guess. I mean, do you think that Miramax is gonna hire Harvey Weinstein back?
No, he's in jail,
I mean,
right?
no, I think he got let out.
Oh God. All right. No, that would probably be a really bad idea.
Well, so would promoting Petrino.
All right. The last game I want to mention is does Oregon break their losing streak against Boise State? Because they are over in the history and they're 19.5-point favorites.
Yeah. That's one of those just real weird statistics, kind of like how Texas and Michigan have only played once. It's just or ASU has never beat an SEC team in their history. It's just like, one of those really, really weird things that I think will come to an end.
Yeah. Oregon's favored by 19.5 points. George, will they cover the spread? I have 2 words to say about this game, and then we will drop it. They
And those
better.
are?
They better.
Yeah.
They better. That's they better.
I would laugh if Oregon went 15-0 this year and won every game by like one score.
Oh, you
just
mean
to,
like Notre Dame in 2012?
yeah, just to cause you heart problems.
Oh my God, dude, we don't have time for that. Oh, I mean, I would still be happy at 15-0, but I'd be like, bro, this is too stressful. Dude, on a side note, my kid has a game on Saturday, 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
Why did they say that he needs to be there at 1 o'clock and it's 100 and some degrees outside?
I don't trying to teach him about hydration, I guess.
Oh.
What do you think of some of these kickoff temperatures? So, like, I saw in Death Valley there was a low of 98 over the next couple of days. ASU is going to be like 110 when Mississippi State comes to town. Do you think this type of stuff matters? Do you think the weather stuff at the beginning of the season matters as much as like at the end of the year if you have to go to Minnesota or something like that? Do you think teams get affected by the extreme temperatures?
Yes, because it's hot as fish grease, or it's cold as fish, or it's cold as a witch's titties. Either way.
My question has always been, because I think you can prepare for the cold. You can be a cold weather team. You can adapt your style to it. But doesn't the heat just hurt the team that practices in it every
No,
day? Isn't it bad for them to just
no,
always
no,
be
no,
in it?
no, no. It is more, dude, because heat is so overwhelming at times. It can cause you to cramp. It is like so. It just lays on you. It's like a blanket. I'd rather play in the cold than the hot. Than like the extreme cold than extreme hot. Because extreme cold, you can sit on the warming benches when you're not in, but and be reasonable. In the heat, it ain't enough fans or shades to fix it. So that's why. All right. The final thing that we want to talk about before we get out of here on the Unafraid Show, college football, is Ralph is being a get off my lawn guy right now. And this is the thing that caused it. So there have been some incidences in college football where some people have been aggressive, if you will, and in terms of their celebrations, and Ralph has not liked it. And it happened in the LSU game where there was a like a shotgun blast, if you will, like close range that resulted in a 15-yard penalty, and then there was a bunch of pumps after a tackle for loss.
Like conduct penalty.
I thought it was the dancing.
Yeah,
It's this.
It's this.
And
that's a good call.
Yeah, that is a good call. And for college football players around the country, we get emotion. It's all. If you're going to have fun with your players, do whatever you want to do. But when you do something like that, when you get
So Brian Kelly called that a point, Ralph. Is that a point?
Well, in a way, in a way, I don't think he was pointing at a friend, as Brian Kelly said. It was like a shotgun blast celebration. It wasn't even a celebration, was it?
No,
That doesn't
no,
feel like a yeah.
Well, it was. I mean, sort. It was a taunt.
Yeah. I think I would get fired over this as his coach.
Why?
Because I don't know if you can talk to people the way that I would. I'd be like, hey, I need you to look at me. You're an actual idiot. I'm not sure we could trust you with sharp objects. I'm not sure we could trust you with dull objects. You are a literal moron. And you're here representing a collegiate institution. I think we might have to saran wrap your arms to your body until you show you could be trusted. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
I am going to. I could get fired over the ass chewing you're gonna get on this one. I could get, but there is a chance. Now, granted, we're trying to win the game. There is a chance, like if I actually saw it, right? Not big, because sometimes people get personal fouls and the coach never sees it until after the game, like fully what happened. So let's say I did not see what happened, then the ass chewing is going to happen in the team meeting room, which is in private, and then in the team meeting room, and it's going to be well understood that ain't going to happen. But actually, I just can't see, if I were a coach, a player on my team doing that, because we're going to be buttoned up in general. Like, we not getting 15-yard penalties. The first person that gets a penalty like that will be the last person that gets a penalty like that. That's one of them. Hey, when because you do stuff like that at practice sometimes too, and that shit's getting nipped in the butt immediately.
Yeah, so, and I don't have a problem. And people will be like, "Well, it's about the entertainment they're consuming." I don't have a problem with it when it's make believe. I don't have a problem with it when it's entertainment. But like, I'll say to this kid the same thing I'd say to Jason Whitlock: "You're not Omar. This isn't like, you can't compare The Wire to your real life."
See, you're upset with it for a whole different reason than I'm upset with it. I'm upset with it because I'm like, you hurt the damn team.
Right.
And you're
if you're gonna hurt the team, make it a late hit. Make it something that the other team is gonna feel, not something that just brings attention to the fact that your brain cells aren't firing correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the Texas A&M one, that's a funny one to me. Because it was still early. It was a tie game or whatever. You have the tackle for a loss. And then what is it? Shamar Turner, same dude that punched an SMU player in the junk and got thrown out of the game last year. He poses for the camera to make sure everyone's looking at him, then gets up and does the on one knee 3 pumps, which according to Key and Peele, that is a penalty. 3 pumps. Can't do 3. But like that one too is just like, hey man, you've been here for a long time. You've done some really dumb stuff. You're a senior now. We're trying to compete for a championship. You're getting paid. are you going to be able to function in society beyond Texas A&M?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. And good point. And you guys, that is the Pac-12.
You did it again. Yes.
That is the college football apostles, presented by the Unafraid Show. Peace out. Catch you guys next week.